Hello, Steve 89. Well, Mattel held their Influencers event on the weekend for the 40th anniversary of He-Man, and they revealed that they are actually doing a Snake Mountain for the Origins line, which I was kind of hoping for, but I'm a little disappointed. I'll get into that later. Before they rolled that out, they're doing some more Mastersverse figures for the new Eternia line. They're doing Stratos, Roboto, Man-at-Arms, a new Adventures Skeletor. They're doing a movie, He-Man and Skeletor, which I really would like. They showed some of the Origins figures that they're working on. They showed King Hiss. They showed was it He Skeletor, who is part of the German Anti-Eternia line, which is basically their version of Keldor, which they're doing, which is basically just a recolor of He-Man. They're doing a Walmart exclusive flocked Mossman. They are adding to the Eternia playset either early bird or when they get to 8,000 or 10,000 buyers. They're going to add a King Grayskull toy, and they're going to add a Keklar the Elder, as well as I think they're also doing a Moat monster. They're basically just adding in a whole bunch of little extras, and we're getting another character like the Frog Monga, who is one of the characters that we see in the Castle Grayskull sticker on the floor. They've made him into a real character, and for me, that is when Origins is really at its best, when it actually gives us something that we don't already have, or gives us something different. Either they give us something new, like a new character we don't have, or add something onto a character, or just do something different with it. And they didn't do any of that with Snake Mountain. Now, they did it with Castle Grayskull. That's the really surprising thing. Castle Grayskull had some problems. It had, the back and front didn't match. So when you had it displayed open, which is how it was meant to be displayed, it worked and it looked good. But as soon as you closed it up, you could see that the back and the front didn't line up, and it wasn't like a self-contained castle. And what they did with the new one was they fixed that. They added an extra tower on the back to match the tower at the front, and they built out the back and gave the overall castle more volume and made it its own self-contained castle, much like the Crystal Castle. And it really worked. And so they added extra features, they made it new, and they fixed problems with it. And I thought it was a really great toy. I was hoping for the same for Snake Mountain, because Snake Mountain was worse. Basically, they seemed to base the original design, or they basically used a playset from a toy series that was already some sort of jungle sort of series. I don't know what it was, but I hear that they basically modified something they'd already designed. So I was always disappointed in it, because it came after Filmation. The original Castle Grayskull differed from the Filmation Castle Grayskull, but it was okay because the cartoon was made second. But they made the Snake Mountain after we'd already seen Snake Mountain, and it never made any sense that it didn't look like Snake Mountain on the cartoon. And I mean, everyone tries to incorporate both the elements, because the Filmation Castle Grayskull was just a spiky mountain with a blood waterfall in the middle and a snake wrapped around it. And there is a way to blend these things together and get the best of both worlds, and people have tried to do it. They did it a little bit with the classics. They weren't entirely successful, but this one, they failed totally. Basically, they just recreated the same purple mountain with the separate grey gateway, one-sided gateway, and that's it. And they made the snake huge and long, and it just sort of floats over the rest of it. It doesn't wrap around it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they did it that way, but I'm really disappointed, because it would have been cheaper and better and given us something different and new if they had just molded a new mountain, which is more spiky and looks more like the original Filmation design, and incorporated the gate into it, incorporated the face on the other side. They could have incorporated the tunnel, and they could have incorporated everything, and then just have the blood waterfall, which all it needs to be is a piece of plastic that fits over the edges of the two parts when they come together to hide up the join. And they could have done that, and they could have just made one piece instead of having a separate piece for the plastic grey gate, which is the gateway, which is different molded piece and different plastic. They could have just had that all one piece. Instead, they've got this weird little flimsy little piece that sits on the back of it that doesn't give it a back and doesn't really merge it and join it with the mountain. It just sits behind it, and the actual prototype, they had it moulded in light grey instead of purple like the rest, so it looked even more out of place. But it doesn't join together, it doesn't extend the mountain, it doesn't do anything, it just doesn't work. They absolutely failed on the outside, and I'm really disappointed. I'm really shocked because they improved the original Castle Grayskull and they made the new version better. This one, they didn't improve anything. They just added one cheap, weird, flimsy little accessory that doesn't work. Now the inside, they did a better job of the inside. They included the bone throne. They created this big cage which works like a dungeon, but you can move it under the trapdoor, so when the characters fall through the trapdoor, instead of falling through the net, which doesn't work, they would fall into the cage, and then they could be transferred over and kept in a dungeon. They extended the moat out and had a little moulded section, and they had little creatures that were originally just in the stickers, actually created them, and you can remove them, and if you take your He-Man figures apart, you can swap them over and it makes it look like they're sinking into the moat. So they did a lot of things with the inside that really works, and there's more playability, and it resembles more the one from the cartoon. But the outside, they totally failed, and it's just bizarre, but it's not totally shocking in a way, because it's like this with the figures. Some of the figures, they made new ones, they made different ones, they added on to ones that already existed. They gave us extra parts. They gave us a reason. Some figures, there's no reason to buy them. They look exactly like the originals. They do exactly what the originals did. There's nothing new about them, except for the fact that, they have more articulation. So ones like Stinkor, and that, I never bothered buying them because there's there's no reason to buy them. They're just the exact same figures, just with more articulation, and that's not enough. Whereas the other figures, like the Green Goddess and like, not Hero because he was from the Super 7 line, but like Keldor and Trapjaw before he was turned into Trapjaw and stuff like that. They're giving us something new, like Scareglow and King Randor with molded capes and stuff like that. There's something different, something extra, and I was expecting or hoping for something like this for Snake Mountain, and we didn't get it. So I'm really disappointed. It's not the final version, but I can't see them making huge changes. And it's kind of like, I'm surprised it's coming, because when they went straight to the Eternia playset, I thought maybe they were skipping Castle, the Snake Mountain and that, which would make sense with some of them, because they, like the Horde, Fright Zone, it's just a wall and a hole for a snake. I'd never understood some of these playsets just had no relationship to the shows, and they just had no inner volume. They had no self-contained element about them. They were just weird. So I kind of thought maybe they were going to skip it, but they're not. And I never got Eternia either. Now, I never got it physically. No, I never owned it, but I never understood it. Is it supposed to represent the whole of Eternia? You've got like the palace, you've got Snake Mountain, you've got Castle Grayskull, but you don't actually have them. Like, if you didn't have the play sets, maybe you could play with that whole set and feel like you had the whole of Eternia. But it's just like representations of them, but there's no inner volume. It's just these separate pieces that sit together, and people will talk about how big it is. I'm like, not really. It just takes up a lot of space how it sits. The actual volume of the actual towers, they're very small. So I never bought it. I can't imagine I ever would. I just don't understand why. It's just part of the legacy now, and it's a legacy item that some people just want. It's $550 plus $50 postage in America and a lot more for international. I can't see myself buying it. I could have bought one of the originals for like 15 years ago for a good price, and now they're like $8,000 or something. So I don't think I'll ever own it. I think I'll be fine. I think I'll survive. But yeah, I'm glad they're doing it for the collectors, the people who wanted it. But yeah, I'm not really bothered, but I'm more disappointed by Snake Mountain, because they could have really beefed it up and made it into this, blend of the Filmation Snake Mountain and the real Snake Mountain, and made this bigger, self-contained, playset that looked more like, you know, what we think of Snake Mountain as, and they didn't do it. I just don't understand why they didn't do it. Why go all that trouble to recreate a playset that's going to cost all this money to make, and it costs more to make it the way they've done it than if they'd just done, you know, the one-piece molding with the stuff incorporated. I just don't understand it. And that's it, I guess. That's my little rant. I just had to say something about it because I'm just disappointed and frustrated and confused. And yeah, I think I mentioned everything else that they're doing. Yep, I'm just going to leave it there. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I don't know if I'll buy Snake Mountain. I'm tempted. But it's not enough. There's not enough motivation. I could just buy a Bone Throne from my original one and let it go. I don't know. We'll see if they do anything else to it.